Hi, my name's Nigel and welcome to V8 Creative, my YouTube channel where I'm going to show you how you could build one of these. Ultima Sports is a low volume car manufacturer based in the UK. And the Ultima RS, which is the vehicle you just saw in that clip, is their latest model. Now you can buy that car as a turnkey car from them. They'll build one for you to your specification. Or the mainstay of their business is providing the kit of components to allow people like you and I to build these hypercars in our own garages. It's astonishing. Now, I don't use the term hypercar very lightly. And why I say that is if you decide, or if I decide to drop the LT5 Chevrolet V8 in one of these beasts, then performance is just mind-numbing. Power to weight, over 800 brake horsepower per ton. Acceleration, 0 to 60 in 2.3 seconds. That's rip your face off acceleration. So what I've decided to do in this build series is I don't want to focus my efforts on looking for components, welding, fabricating. I just want to enjoy the experience. So I bought every single component from Ultima. Every single nut, bolt, washer, everything. And why? Well, I just want to enjoy the build. When I come home from a long day at work, I want to come into the garage and say build a sub-assembly like the front suspension. I want to know everything's going to fit. I want to know everything is the correct tensile strength for the forces that are going to go through this suspension. So this journey is going to actually share with you how accessible this hobby is to petrol heads. Now, what I'm going to do in this first video is I'm going to go through the process I went through in my mind, choosing the specific spec of this car that will be my baby. My 20-year dream this car is. So it will be color, brakes, engine. The list is fairly lengthy, but I make no apologies for this first video being over the 20-minute average. I just want to share in this excitement because I'm sorry, I'll also make no apologies of getting rather excited about carbon fiber aerodynamic parts. And on that note, let's just warm up the PowerPoint I've prepped, make yourself a cuppa and sit back and enjoy. Welcome to my PowerPoint. Now when you decide to build an RS, what Ultima will do is they'll provide you with multiple Excel spreadsheets which list every single option. It's very simple to go through, it's very straightforward. But what I've decided to do here is actually generate some slides to go through what those options actually look like. And what better place to start than the engine? Now of course, the Ultima RS is fitted with a V8. What better power plant? Well, they offer 5 engine options, and every single one of these engine options is a Chevrolet crate engine. So that is a brand new power plant that is leak-free, fully tested, and will basically do what it says on the tin. Basically a unit that you can just seamlessly slot into the RS. Now the first of these engines is the LS3. Now the LS3 is a Generation 4 and it is a very well proven engine. It comes in 6.2 litres, all aluminium, wet sump format, and in standard trim gives you 430 horsepower. Now they do a hot cam version which takes it to 480 horsepower, and just imagine that amount of horsepower and torque in a car that weighs just a smidgen over a Fiat 500. So now you can understand why 0 to 60 is sub 3 seconds. Next is the LS7, another Generation 4 engine, and this time we're upping the cubes. And also we get a dry sump. Now a dry sump is great if you want to do a lot of track work, but these 7 litres in standard fare will push out 505 horsepower and 470 foot-pounds of torque. Next is the LT series. Now this is the Generation 5 engine and will probably appeal to those people that are looking for more forced induction options or maybe looking for lower emission options. Now we're back to 6.2 litres this time, but compression ratio is up. We've got a dry sump as standard and we see 460 horsepower and a good 465 foot-pounds of torque from the LT1. If we move on now to the LT4, capacity is the same, but now we have forced induction. Yep, this power plant has a supercharger as standard, and that suddenly pushes out to 650 horsepower and 600 foot-pounds of torque, which propels the RS to sub 2.5 seconds 0 to 60. And then finally, we have the daddy, the LT5. Of course, Generation 5, forced induction, compression ratio of 10:1, dry sump, 755 horsepower as standard, and 715 foot-pounds of torque. And that is 2.3 seconds 0 to 60, as I mentioned previously. Now, I'm not actually going to choose the engine just yet, so we're going to look into that further later on in the build. But what I do have to do is consider the choice of colour. Now, the Ultima, as many self-assembly cars, come in a gel coat finish. So this is all the composite panels come fully finished, fully polished when you take delivery. Now the quality of this gel coat, I must say, is extraordinary. Ultima have been known in the industry to supply the best quality, and they do without question. If you look at the finish, you will be challenged to know the difference to a paint finish. Now the other advantage is it is very resistant to chips, it can be repaired very easily, and also because the panels come pre-coloured, as you're building the car, you can actually see it taking shape rather than a body shell, which may be an undercoat spray or something. Now you have a choice of 11 colours here, and you can also see 4 colours of wheels. Now what Ultima do is they provide a configurator on their website which allows you to choose these colour and wheel options to actually see what your final car will look like. And guess what? That's exactly what we're going to do now. So here we come onto the website, and welcome to the new Ultima RS. These lovely pictures. The white car is their latest demonstrator, and I must say it does look astonishing. Oh, just look at those brakes. Let's carry on down. Some beautiful imagery on this website, and hope I'm not making you sick here. If we carry on down, some nice videos, and then we have the configurator. Now what we're going to do is go to full screen, and here we go. Whoops. So, white. Now I do like white. Now I appreciate this is personal choice, but we can have white, black, pretty mean, British Racing Green, yeah. Blue, bright blue, red, yeah, red's pretty cool. Green, Kawasaki green, sort of a Lambo look, but then maroon, no, not my cup of tea. Mauve, not my cup of tea. Orange, orange is very popular. There's a lot of orange ones out there. And then finally yellow, which does pique my interest, but I'm not quite sure. So really for me, I think it's going to be white, black, or red. Now what this configurator also does, it allows you to choose the colour of the wheels. Now I appreciate we've lost the top of the car there, so we can have them in silver, grey, gold, or black. Now if I chose red, they look pretty cool in black and gold. If I went for white, it'd have to be grey. And then black, oh, it's got to be black on black. That's pretty sinister, isn't it? When you place your deposit with Ultima, what they'll do is they'll provide you with 4 price lists. These cover Pack A, Pack B, options, and then also engine and engine ancillaries. So what I'm going to do here is give a very high level view of what you get in Pack A, Pack B. So to give you an idea of then what options there are available to you when you are specifying your car. So Pack A, what Pack A provides you is a space frame chassis finished in satin black powder coating. Beautiful, beautiful piece of kit this is, with an integral roll cage. Also included is the aluminium panel kit. And what this is a series of aluminium panels that are actually riveted to the chassis. That's one of your first jobs, to create the passenger and driver cell, just like a race car. Next, pedals. Pedals come beautifully TIG welded and also come complete with all fixings and all master cylinders. Next, the suspension. Now, the suspension has an awful lot of components. It's got the wishbones. It's also got uprights. It's got all bolts, bearings, shock absorbers, springs, bolts. And I must say, assembling the suspension on one of these cars is just a dream. It's just like Lego. Next, the gear linkage. Well, the gear linkage is made of billet aluminium. It's beautiful. It's a beautiful piece of kit. And what it does is uses 2 cables to actuate the gearbox at the rear of the car. And quite interestingly, the gearbox that's used in these cars are Porsche 996 boxes, which are 6-speed manuals and mate to the Chevrolet, which I will come on to later regarding the hardware to do that. Next, the brakes. Well, the standard brakes on this car are AP Racing 4-pot calipers, front and rear, and 320mm diameter discs. And that is pretty staggering. I mean, the braking force those type of brakes can give you is significant compared to any standard road car. Next, steering. Ultima actually have their own quick rack, which only requires 2.1 turns of the steering wheel to go from lock to lock. Included with the rack are the actual clamps, beautiful clamps, machined out of solid alloy to clamp the steering rack to the chassis, and track rod ends, boots and track rods. Next, the cooling system. The cooling system is a multi-core aluminium radiator that sits at the front of the car with twin electric fans to give optimum cooling. Now, what's also included is pipes going back to the rear of the car, and then there are some elements that come with the engine package to complete the system. And then finally, spaghetti. Now, this is the wiring loom, which I'm sure many of you will be very scared of, but when I install the wiring loom, I will show you how simple and how straightforward it is. There are some nice things including with the wiring loom, including actual steering wheel mounted buttons for a lot of the car's controls. Now, Pack B Has the fuel tanks. There's two just in front of the rear wheels, one either side, and also Ultima branded fillers. And then the stunning forged wheels. They are absolutely amazing. Those rear wheels are just like, well, they're like the front of a steamroller. It's incredible. Next, the bodywork. And as previously mentioned, the bodywork comes pre-coloured, it's in gel coat, and includes the doors, the centre section, the side pods, the front and the rear clam. Real race car configuration. Next, glazing, windscreen, side screens for the doors, and then the headlamp covers as well. Next is the exhaust system. Now this is clearly dependent on your engine choice. So if at this point in time you're still unsure which engine you want to fit, Ultima can work with you and leave the exhaust system out of Pack B and deliver it later. Next, drive shafts. These are common regardless what engine you put in this chassis. So they are made specifically for Ultima. So options. Now what those two packs will get you is a rolling chassis with basically a body on top. That's what it will look like. Next comes the actual options that are going to dress that. Now the chassis itself, there are very few optional extras for the chassis because it's been designed, regardless of what power plant you put in it, to cope with the horsepower. So there's an aluminium double skin kit, pretty inexpensive, and what this does is increase soundproofing within the cabin, only a little, because you do want to hear that V8 after all, and then also actually optimize airflow at the front of the car. Next, a tow hook. Okay, I don't need a tow hook, I don't expect to break down, but this beautiful tow hook is machined out of aluminium and just harks back to that racing pedigree of this car. And the same goes for the billet alloy pedal pads. They just add extra grip to the pedals and they actually just give that nice clean look when the passenger is strapped in with his 6-point harness, just looking down at your feet as they play across the pedals as you're going up through the gears. Next, brakes. As I said, the standard brakes, as you can see here, are big. I mean, these are seriously big, but of course you can upgrade them to 362 millimeters. I mean, these are just gargantuan. And the calipers are 6-pot calipers, not 4, 6. That's front and rear, which is pretty staggering amount of braking capability. Steering, very few options here. You can see the buttons here that come standard with the wiring loom, but I've gone for the suede steering wheel, lovely feel. And also that nice little yellow bit at the top, which shows which way is forward when we're in a full power drift. Cooling, as I said, Pack B comes, or I think it's Pack A, comes with the rad and the big fans, but there's also additional silicone piping and also swirl pots and Jubilee clips, etc. for the actual engine installation. And this is seen as an option. Electrical, we've got the loom, but we need the battery and cables, a pretty amazing race battery list, lots of power to push over those V8s, and also Odyssey, which, great respect, a superb racing battery. Now with the instrumentation, you can either go digital or you can go analog. I've gone for analog instrumentation because I see the Ultima RS as an old school, new school hypercar. It's got 0 driver aids, no ABS, no traction control, no power steering, no stability control. It's just you, your feet, and your arse. That's what this car's about. So I do want little pointy needles. I don't want like an alarm clock figures in front of me. So I've gone for the instrument set that is finished in a stunning silver and also Ultima RS logos. Next, the lighting. Now these two pictures don't really give the lighting justice. Just to give you an idea, it's all LED. The front lights, the actual housing is made out of carbon fibre and there's little fans in there to stop misting. That's pretty impressive, I must say. That's engineering to the nth. And if you go on Ultima's website and look at their videos, there is a video that shows these lights in action. Cry your heart out, Audi. Next, windscreen wiper and washer. Okay, you need a windscreen wiper. How can you get excited about a windscreen wiper? But I can about this one. It's a single blade that sits right in the middle of the screen in the park position. This tells you this is a serious car, that when it's going at its terminal velocity, that windscreen wiper needs to be there. It could be nowhere else with the drag caused. It will just slow the car down. Next, the cockpit. Now, I'm not going to lie here, the Ultima is raw, but that's what we want, raw. So we do have stunning seats. They are beautiful. And I've gone for the option of red stitching and red piping to match the calipers after all. Next, 6-point racing harnesses. I want to be restrained. 2 points of contact to the roll cage on my shoulders, 2 to the chassis around my waist, and then the crutch strap has 2 connections to the chassis also. That's to stop you submarining. If you don't know what it is, just Google it. Now, if you're wearing the skirt, it's a bit awkward, but that's not a problem for me. Now, the interior of the Ultima can either be an Alcantara, which is like a suede finish, like the steering wheel, or it can be leather. Now, I love the smell of leather in the morning, so I've gone for leather and, of course, red stitching to match those calipers again. And then the carpets. The carpet's going to be black. I've toned them down a bit. I don't particularly want red trim on them. I just want them to melt away a bit into the cockpit. But this is a bit extravagant. The stunning roll cage, and I mean it is stunning. When you're sitting in the car, it wraps around you. It cossets you like, it keeps you safe. I've gone for the option where it is covered in leather and stitched in red to match the dashboard. Aircon, you got to tick that box. And even in a very mild UK, it gets very hot and steamy in there. But with aircon, it's amazing. And finally, yeah, I've gone for another upgrade. I know I splashed it on the brakes, but the standard car comes with aluminium covers for the seals. But for a few extra pounds or dollars, you can have beautiful carbon fibre tops to the seals. Grills, can't really get too excited about grills, but if you look at this car, it looks like a shark. It's got gills everywhere, and everyone needs a mesh. There's a lot of work bonding them all in, but you need that pack. They are made of aluminium hexagonal design mesh for optimum airflow, and they're covered in satin black finish powder coat. Next, mirrors. Now, I've been extravagant here. There are 3 types of mirrors, and I'm showing the top end mirrors here. These are the ones specifically designed for this car, made of carbon fibre, and these pictures just do not do these mirrors justice. I promise you I'm going to wake up stroking these in the bed when they arrive. They're just a piece of art. They truly are. Now for a couple of bodywork aeros in gel coat colour. There is a huge scoop you can add to the roof of the car. And I like this idea because it's like absorbing children as you're firing this car down the road. But to be honest, it helps cool the engine bay. And then, in addition, to help the cooling and the airflow, there's this little divider, just a little detail here, put in the front. And of course, I've opted for that. And here we go. Now we're going for the carbon. Look at that rear wing. Of course you've got to have that. Can't not have the car without it. Next, those side skirts. Oh man, they just look beautiful. And then the side scoops. Now these, honestly, are just a piece of art. Piece of art. Next, rear diffuser. This tells people following you, have respect for this car. It's being sucked to the ground as it goes so fast. And then the beautiful front splitter. This is a huge piece of carbon. Just look at the size of it. And it also has air ducts to funnel in cooling air to those huge brakes. Now for the engine bay, I'm not going to go through everything in detail, but there's options I've added here. So basically, when you're taking a Chevrolet V8, you're bolting it to a Porsche 996 transaxle that's being used upside down, by the way, and then it's put in the back of an Ultima RS. There's a lot of custom parts you need, and this is a list of them. I've gone for the option of coating the exhaust in a ceramic coat. Why? One, it looks mean, it looks really nice. But two, most importantly, it reduces temperature in the engine bay. And yeah, I'm a watch man. I know. But what Ultima have done is they've teamed up with Louis Erard to actually produce a limited run of these stunning watches. Now I like Swiss watches, but what made me want one of these, and actually I'm going to wear it as I build the car on Ultima time, as I call it. The car's analog. It's great. It is a throwback to what a true track car should be, hyper road car actually. And this watch in itself is analog also. So I couldn't help myself. So there you go. Let the build begin. So what we have to do now is just wait for that delivery date, wait for those components to arrive. But before then, I'm going to do another video just to explain to you all what's involved when you build a car like this. How much time you need, how much room you need, the tools you need, and the expertise. Is it really doable for the average man in the street? Well, until then, subscribe, because you've got to do that, that's really important, and hit that little belly thing so you get alerts when I put videos up. And let's look forward to one amazing journey.